Today we'll talk about sessions. So you may have noticed in this morning's news, Attorney General Jeff Sessions rolling back judicial oversight on police departments with a culture of, wrong session, this is a web class, sorry. Sessions are going to be built on top of cookies. They're a way to sort of say, to get past this problem that HTML doesn't have state, okay? Here's what we want. I want it to be like that phone call. I want to be like that phone call and say, hey, I'm having a conversation and yeah, I know that you clicked on one page, filled some stuff out, went to another page, added something to a shopping cart, went to another page, another page, another page. Each of these pages giving me some information at times. Each of those pages I want to use information that you just barely gave me, and I want to do this over 20 pages, and you come back a week later, I want to pick up exactly where we left off as if it were a phone call. That's what a session is going to be, and how do we implement it? Here's how we think of it. It's going to be one array that lives between all those different visits, okay? So if I want to remember something between one page and the next, all I have to do is put it in an array, and that array is going to be available to me on every single PHP that's handling every request coming from that person, okay? And different users having a different session there'll be a different array for them that I just can store things into and get things out of. So we'll hone that down in a minute. First, I just want to review about cookies since we saw sessions are built on top of cookies. So here's a little question. Why does the following code not print out 250? Let's see, PHP, set cookie, hamburger price as the key, and 250 is the value, okay? The going rate for hamburgers is PHP printf, look up in the cookie array, get the cookie array whose name is hamburger price, okay? So printf, if you don't know that, is an awesome function. It's in Java, it's in C, it's in many languages. I was printing a number with two places after the decimal, two digits after the decimal place. Yeah, should be 250, right? We set the cookie right here. Why is it not necessarily 250? You should know this. Think about how cookies work. Pause and think about it. Yeah, because what does set cookie do? Now that we've thought about it. Oh wait, set cookie doesn't put things into an array called underscore cookie. I could assign to that myself if I wanted. Set cookie says, hey, in the response that I send back with this page, I'm going to include in its header a request for the client to save this key value pair for me, okay? And in future visits, the client is going to provide me with that key value pair, okay? But the very first time they visit my page, certainly that cookie will not have been set before, and nothing's going to be in the array underscore cookie. So when I get the request for this page, maybe there are no cookies at all that were provided to me. Next time they come, because of this, there might be cookies set, depending on whether or not they actually respect my request to set that cookie. Okay, so keep in mind that there's this one-step difference between calling set cookie and actually having the cookie available server side. There's one visit between those two things. Okay, we know that. That makes good sense. So, we want to look at sessions, and just to review, built-in HTTP has no state at all. Post and get is one way to, having a form is one way to get information from one page to the next visit in some sense. It's just from a form, and then they can provide information too. So that's information in one direction. And that is one way to start getting around the lack of state. Using cookies is another one. Another way to sort of get around the lack of state is I could keep all this information on a file that I keep between visits. Okay, so you come visit me and you have some information on a form, and I'll write it into a file or a database. And then later when you come visit, I'll go look up that file again. There's a little bit of begging the question there, right? I need to know, out of all the hundreds of requests I'm getting every second, which ones correspond to you who visited me last week. Okay, and we can use a cookie for that. In fact, if I go ahead and write a file with all the information every time you visit, and I just ask you to set one cookie, again, a customer number, that's what we're going to call a session. So a session is simply an API that lets us easily do this. Okay, so here's how to use sessions in your PHP code. Call the function session start at the top of your page. Session start, what does this function do? Well, I wish it were called session start or resume. If it's a first-time visit from somebody, session start will start a new session. What does that mean? It will set a cookie. We'll do set cookie, and we'll ask the client saying, hey, you have a cookie, and it'll be some sort of user ID. I think it's called PHP sess ID is the default name of this session cookie. And again, it's going to be associated with a customer 47, something like that, some sort of customer number. In all future versions, they will provide that cookie to me. When they make future visits, if my PHP code calls session start and they already sent me a customer number, I don't need to start a new session. I need to resume the current session. And I'm like, oh, their customer number 47. Go look up a file I'm keeping locally that has all the information for customer 47. And put it into an array. I'm just going to take everything in that file and stuff it into an array that's now available for this page to use. Underscore session will be the name of that array. Okay, fair enough. So I can go ahead and in my code, I can say, underscore session of first name, whatever. I can store whatever value I want to know on our next visit. Maybe I'm getting this from a form that they just barely filled in. Maybe I'm in a form handler, maybe not. Anything I want to remember on this visit that I want to remember about a later visit from the same person, I just store in the array called underscore session. Okay. When my PHP program quits, it's going to take that array and write it to disk. Okay. And then on the next visit, I'll get a cookie with our customer number. I'll use that to locate that file. I'll take the contents of that file and load it back into the array. And it's as if, from my writing the web page perspective, it's as if, hey, yeah, I'm just talking with the same person on the phone. I know exactly who they are. I have this whole array of memory sitting there that's exactly the same it was right at the end of their previous visit, even if that was 3 weeks ago. So, okay. Let's go look at an example of actually using this. Okay, so login ID, me, of course, that's my login ID. It's asking for some sort of category and a favorite instance of that category. Gosh, what should we use? How about Greek gods and Athena? Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and submit. Okay, hello, me, of course. You last visited our site a long time ago. That is a long time. I don't know what that means, but let's go. And now I have a little mini bar here with several pages here. I'm going to go to page 2. Hello, me, of course. You've last visited our site 14 seconds ago. And I'm going to go to another page. Hey, you last visited our site 8 seconds ago. And I'm going to go back to 2 and 3. Yeah, you last visited our site 1 second ago. And if I look at this, I'm printing out the contents of the session array. If we look at this array, previous authentication time. Okay, that's good to know. That's the last time I typed my password. Username, me, of course. Ooh, what happened here? I clicked on one of these page 2s. It turns out, still me. I went ahead and wrote this page, we'll look at this, that if I don't visit within 30 seconds, if I haven't typed in my login ID within 30 seconds, it quote-unquote logs me out. It doesn't, we'll see what that means. What does that mean? It simply says, hey, it's not going to go ahead and show me the other pages I'm requesting. It's going to redirect me back to this login page. That's kind of a handy thing to do. We'll see how that works in a second. In the meantime, I'm going to have to remember to, within every 30 seconds, go to one of the other pages and not talk for more than 30 seconds. That's going to be tough for me to not talk for more than 30 seconds at a time. Okay. Category, all right, Norse god and Loki. Okay. There we are. previous authentication. Username still me. Greek gods is Athena. Norse god is Loki. Okay, so it's actually remembering all this information, and it remembers who I am from one visit to another. And I'm going to different pages. I have a page 2 and a page 3 that look just the same, but I'm keeping track of how many page 1 visits, how many page 2 visits, how many page 3 visits. So go to page 3 and it will increment that count every time I go there. Okay. Oh, I haven't typed my login ID for at least 30 seconds, so it's sent me back here. So I say it's logged me out, but it hasn't forgotten all my information. Remember, I had Greek god and then Norse god as well, and I can put in something here. I said me, and what do we have now? Egyptian gods. Okay, I'll say Thoth, since that's the only name that comes to my head at this moment. And now I see that, yeah, it remembers my Norse god, my Egyptian god. It's overwritten my username every single time, whatever. Okay, we'll look at the show source that does this. But this is the idea of cookies, the idea of sessions that are doing all this. All this information I'm keeping on my site, okay? It's not like a cookie where I ask the client to say, hey, please remember who your favorite Norse god is and remember to tell me next time you visit. I could do that with a cookie. This is not that. I am keeping track of all sorts of information. Let's go look at the code here that does that. Session start. That's the one key line. Okay. Okay, go inside. This is the page that actually handles that first login page. If there's a username, okay, so I didn't have them type a password for. I'm going to sort of say authenticating is just giving me your username at all. Okay. So yeah, if their login, if they had filled in their name, okay, if there was, then I'm going to go ahead and remember their username. Okay. I'm going to put it into an array called _session, and that's going to live on my side between visits. I'm going to remember the moment they last authenticated. Okay. So time is again the number of seconds since the start of the epoch in PHP. Epoch? Epoch? Anyway. What else? If post of category was like Greek god, then I'd category an instance on that form. I haven't shown you the form, so you haven't seen the names of those input tags. They're called category instance and login ID. Yeah, so I put a Greek god and Thoth. Okay, so this was Thoth, and I signed it into _session of Greek god. Okay, interesting. So that's how we got the fact that, we had this here. That's why the key was whatever the user typed in as well. Okay, that's neither here nor there. The important part, calling session start, and then to get the effect of, hey, if they haven't logged in for a while, still remember all their information. The session is still going, actually. But, let's go down here. If they have not logged in for a while, if the current time minus the time that they previously typed in their login name and ostensibly a password has been more than 30 seconds. So this is a little bit of good little bit of PHP to know. It's a weird function called header. It's actually a reasonable name. Header is a PHP function that inserts information into the HTTP response header of the page we're generating. Okay. Here's a little HTTP tidbit, a networking tidbit. If you include in the header a field called location, the intended use for that for the browser is to say, hey, I should go and do a redirect. Okay, please redirect me, or you're asking the client, hey, please redirect to this page here. Okay, so that's what my page does. Okay, otherwise, okay, so if they haven't logged in for a while, do this. I'm going to keep track of both the previous authentication time and the previous visit time, which can be different. So, and you've probably noticed this on different sites. You go there and you can go to Amazon. It remembers who you are. It shows you all stuff from your shopping list and stuff like that. But if you haven't actually typed your password for a while, it doesn't actually let you check out until you retype your password. So that's a good security practice. Show sort of unsecure things if they're, keep the session around for a long time, but make sure that before you do secure things, that they have authenticated recently for you. So I keep track of both these. Where were we? I go ahead and no matter what, so this is, if they haven't been here recently, go redirect. Otherwise, okay, it's another visit here. Go ahead and take the current time and store that in my array underscore session. It's going to live between sessions. It turns out I want to print out, hey, you came and visited me a few seconds ago, so I need to know what the old value of the previous visit was. So before I overwrite it, I save that into a variable called previous visit. And then we go ahead and, hello, here's session of username. You last visited our site that long ago. Okay. So, by the way, do I need to worry about underscore session of username? Do I need to sanitize that? Yeah, that actually was something eventually that came from a form from the user, and I just stuffed it into the array. Okay, so if I want to go and have that render on the screen, I need to call HTML special chars. Do I need to worry about this variable previous visit? Because that actually, I pulled that out of session as well. What if that had been some sort of attacking string? What happens when you do a number minus a string? Do I need to worry about PHP conversion factors? Well, here's my thinking. Previous visit, yes, I pulled that out of the session array, but this previous visit index on the session array was something that only I put things into. I didn't take any user input. I grabbed a system clock and put it in there. The session array for previous visit will only contain a timestamp if it's there at all. So I don't need to worry about a user having somehow gotten information in there. And you might wonder, well, hey, can't a user fake their HTTP request and put extra things like form information in there or cookie information in there that you didn't provide them? Yeah, they can certainly do that. But here's the key. The session array is not stored on the client. Okay? The session array cannot be tampered with by the client. I'm keeping that server side. Okay? The only thing being kept on the client side is the session cookie. And we'll come back to talk about security concerns for that. Okay. I think I've talked about everything that these pages do. Let's go to page 3. It's going to redirect me since I haven't logged in for a long time. Do I want another category? Sorry. Yeah. TV shows, Gilligan's Island. Not one of my favorite TV shows, but I'm going to lie. Anyway, okay, so I log in, and now I sort of see all sorts of stuff. I see the previous authentication, the previous visitor, the same. We go to page 3, and now we can see that, hey, you visited 9 seconds ago, and there's a difference between the last time I visited and the last time I authenticated. Okay. Page 3. Page 4, logout. Let me talk about logging out and finish up our this video on sessions. How do you log out? By logging out, I'm going to mean destroy this session. It's like hanging up on that phone call that I'm making, which I guess really is going to mean destroy that file that I'm keeping all that information in. Get rid of it. Nuke that file. That's the biggest thing that it means. Okay? So remove the stored information from the disk. That's what I want to do. If I really think about it, there's a little bit more involved in destroying the session. Why? Because I kept most of the information about the session, that whole array, off in some file somewhere, presumably. But the client was keeping the session cookie. So I need to have them delete that cookie. Okay? Can you delete a cookie? Turns out there's a function set cookie. There's no function delete cookie. Even if there were, it would have to be just a request to the client, right? Oh, please remove this cookie. How do you, in effect, delete a cookie? I will go ahead and make a request to set the same cookie, and I'll set it with an expiration date that's in a little bit in the past. Okay, that's how we expire a cookie. I say set it to a date that's in the past. I could have said it would be like 5 seconds in the past or something like that, although I need to be careful if your client system clock is a bit off. So maybe I should make it 10 minutes in the past or 20 minutes in the past. Maybe the client hasn't updated their daylight savings time somehow or another. Better make it 2 hours in the past. Maybe the client actually is running their system clock, set their system clock to be 15 years ago. Here's the best I'm going to do for asking a browser to expire a cookie. I'm going to set the expiration date to be back at the beginning of the start of the epoch. Okay, epoch. So how do I do this? So here's the first thing. Well, first of all, let me go through here. Hello, username, your last visitor. I say and here's how I go and get rid of that stuff on the disk. There's a function called session unset. By the way, I wish this function session unset did all the work that I'm about to talk about. I wish it did this and destroy the cookie, but no. Okay. So, and then I went ahead and print out your session is now logged out, and this little list here. I even have I no longer remember your name to see if that really doesn't work. I no longer remember your name. Yeah, okay. Although I got ahead of myself, that's actually a little bit different. That's not only do I need to destroy the session file that's sitting on the disk, I guess if I really want to be rigorous, there's the session information is sitting in memory, right? In my current, right now, the session array. I can destroy the disk that it just read from a moment ago, but I still have it sitting in memory. If I want to be sure that my script doesn't inadvertently go and keep on doing more that uses still stuff, even though I just told them they were logged out, yeah, then I might go ahead and do session destroy that gets rid of that array in memory, and that's why this doesn't work. Destroying the file wouldn't stop this, but destroying the array in memory with session destroy made sure that I can't even print out their name anymore after doing that. Okay, so I unset that, I destroy that. I get rid of my session info on disk, I get rid of my session info in memory, which if I didn't do this, it's okay. I guess when my program finishes, its memory will get expunged, so it will happen then. And then, I need to set that cookie. You get rid of the cookie, so I need to call set cookie. By the way, when do you call set cookie? This is one of the gotchas for cookies. Call set cookie before you print any output. Why? The request to set the cookie has to be in the HTTP response header. So the moment you start printing, or the moment I reach this line here, it's too late for me to call set cookie. So I can't do it down here where I'm doing all my other session destroying. I have to do the unset the cookie back here. Okay, so set cookie. There is a default name that can actually be changed if you want to use it different. I think the default name is PHP sessid. Regardless if I'd use something different, whatever in the past I'd used as the cookie name for the session ID, that's the cookie I want to set. Set its value to be the empty string. I'm trying to destroy it. I'll set it to be the empty string, and its expiration date will be this long after the start of the epoch. Okay. Wait, why 1 second after the start of the epoch? If I really want to be long, why not 0 seconds after the start of the epoch? Oh, right, 0 is a special sentinel value for a set cookie that means this cookie expires at the end of the session. So I don't go that far back in time. I go to 1 second after the start of that. And if you really want to be correct here, most people don't talk about this. Usually don't have to. We sort of said usually when you set cookies, you set the path to be the root. I didn't really set the session cookie here, by the way, right? Session start made that session cookie for me. I have no idea what the session cookie is, its value, anything like that. This can be configured. It turns out if you really want to set the path to be something other than root, you can do that. If that had been done, the cookie I want to destroy is going to be, well, whatever the path was for. Yeah, so there's a whole PHP array called session cookie info. Oh my goodness. There's there's a whole function called session get cookie params that's full of all the information about the session cookie that I didn't set. But I could configure this info if I wanted to with further work. So that's the path of the cookie I really want to destroy. When you're destroying a cookie, make sure you have the correct host name and the correct path name. I'm assuming it's the same host and not a third-party session ID cookie, since that wouldn't make much sense. Okay. Here's what I want you to remember. If you want to end a session, go ahead and destroy the info on the disk and get rid of the cookie. And I guess get rid of the array in memory. Just remember that those three things need to be done. How to actually do those things, you can Google up the exact functions that do those things. How do you destroy a cookie? Well, you set it to be a cookie that expires in the past, maybe with an empty value. The value shouldn't matter, right, if I'm also asking the browser to consider this long expired. But that is all I want to say about the basics of using sessions. We'll come back with another video about security concerns and then a few other practical gotchas.